You come from, again, you live in Fletcher, certainly a part of the county where agriculture, not to mention Fairfield and St. Albans town, agriculture is still significant. Dairy farming, certainly some diversification on the agriculture front. What do you run into some dairy farmers?
Absolutely.
What do they tell you? What do you tell them?
I think it's no secret that they're all hurting. You know, unfortunately, even with the milk prices going up a little bit recently, it's still rather depressed overall. And unfortunately, in previous kind of cycles, you know, you've seen that maybe dairy prices go down, they've got enough equity, savings, whatever, to weather that storm until the prices come back up. But we've had such a long period of depressed dairy prices with high feed prices, probably because of some of the issues with like subsidies for ethanol and whatever that are causing some problems with feed prices. They've burned through a lot of their savings and equity, and they're under a huge debt load. So they can't rebound as quickly. And a lot of the farmers I'm talking to are saying, I don't want my kids to do this, that they're really hoping they'll go into other fields. And I think that's a horrible thing, not just for the landscape of Vermont and what makes us Vermont, but it's a horrible economic thing as well. I mean, every dollar you spend in agriculture can generate several dollars more in related economic activity. So it's a very good thing for the local economy as well as the state economy as a whole. And of course, in Franklin County, we're the #1 county in Vermont, and just tops in really the country. So agriculture is something we do need to preserve, and I think we need to do things to help farmers weather the storm right now, help them diversify in terms of getting back to sheep, maybe other types of crops. Sugaring is something a lot of people are dealing with as well. Also thinking about helping them get involved in some of the renewable energy future so they could have almost an energy crop. There's plenty of land that they could be using for small kind of energy gardens, if you will, or small energy farms like we're seeing down in Ferrisburg, for example, down in the south, where people are putting up enough generation to actually power communities. So we can actually get them involved in that process so they have a future there in the 21st century kind of economy.
Yeah. Well, in terms of potential help for dairy farmers, something tells me I can't imagine they're expecting it, but the days of subsidies from the legislature are sure over, are they not? I'm not even sure any dairy farmer would hold out any hope for such a thing.
Yeah, we have, I have farmers who tell me they're glad they have their sugar butch and that they're doing their maple syrup, which actually makes a profit for them.
Oh, wow, a profit, imagine that.
Profit, yes. I mean, actually they make more money from that than they do from dairy in some cases. The issue of course, is that diversification is something that is important. We have farm to plate, we have farm to school. Those things, of course, have been funded in the county. We have had success with those, but I think of the state, if it had the money and if it had the income, it would help them out if it could. It did in 2006 when they had the weather problems with the corn that got washed away, rainstorm after rainstorm. It put in $8 million into the dairy industry and to the farmers that needed help with that over, I think they made the last payment on that just a few years ago. But we don't have the money. We don't have the income. Our income is declining. This gets to the larger picture of how do you create prosperity for Vermonters. I mean, the job growth in the state has been in government, education, and healthcare. These are valuable services, many times very well-paying jobs, very good things to have, but they're wealth consumers. They're not wealth generators. They really need a platform of a good strong private sector to be able to support them. And we've had very little growth in the private sector in the past few years, and we really need to find a way to go and increase that to keep the state healthy economically, so that if the farmers need help in a special situation, I don't think the state will ever do a subsidy on any long-term continuing basis, but if there's a crisis, if there's an issue where they really can help these farmers out and give them something to help bridge it. We do it through the VITA loans, the ARA money, the federal stimulus money came in, and they allowed them to go and buy down 2% to 2% on their loans with VITA. That's the Vermont Economic Development Authority. That's a really big help. A lot of farmers have taken advantage of that. But we've done what we could, but we really don't have the resources, the flat-out money to be able to help them the way we really need to sometimes. I don't think they want to hand it. I think they want to be able to be independent business people and work hard at it and continue to make money, and they know how to do that. But the federal price supports have just been all over the place, so it's been really hard.
Yeah. Well, to correct me if I'm wrong, is Fairfield the foremost agricultural town in New England? Is there a bigger ag town in all of New England?
Right now, as of today, the price of corn is going up. As we're talking, is going on. This is going to be a real pitch this winter. Thank God they've been able to get 3 cuttings of grass silage, and there's still some corn to go in, but you know, the price of corn, as Todd was just mentioned, and you know, they use it for fuel, so we're competing with that. But one of the things that that didn't go through this year in the legislature was on our current use. The current use situation needs to be addressed, and I think we have to approach it as we have done with the workman's comp. We're still not out of the woods on that, and it'll take probably 3-4 years. But you've got to have some people that are users of the land, and also some tax people to bring it together. So there's some procedures in there that need to be rectified. The sooner we address them, the better, as we did with workman's comp. But all parties came together this last year on workman's comp, and if we keep following through, we'll have a successful program. It won't be, you know, we were being threatened with going in bankrupt on that. On the current use, land is used agriculturally, and in order to keep it that way, we need to refine some of the exemptions in there, and the penalties if it's taken out of ag use, especially land that's being leased or rented. So I hope that can be addressed in ag this year. We've got to start there. And I know if you speak to the Commissioner of Ag and the Extension people, I mean, when you see the University of Vermont selling their herd, you know, isn't that a positive mood? Oh gosh sakes, I mean, that's terrible.
Interesting.
You know, so you know, it's hard to accept that. At one time, and Ron, we were all party to it, we would have liked to have seen the university. You could see they were on another mode down there, to come out of there, and we'd have had it in Franklin County. Remember how close we were to having it out on 104? It'd have been a beautiful showcase.
Yeah, really.
It'd have been an active farm, not something just a working landscape. It'd have been a working landscape in the pure form, but we lost out on that.
Ron, talking about just, you know, what you seem to feel is a state government that's just gotten too big. Anything dairy farmers hurting? Anything you can do for those folks?
But, you know, a lot of them, they're true Vermonters. They figure things out. I mean, a lot of them are going, even some of the bigger farms are going organic because they're making a lot more money on their milk. But as a state, we got to do all we can with what we have, you know, the limited amount of money we have, because, you know, they put, what, $400 million into the economy, farms do? You know, and you look at everything else, the truck dealers, the tractor dealers, everything else. But I think the federal government is working against us on this ethanol deal because it's driving the cost of grain up. Russia, I think it is, wants to buy billions of tons of corn from us because they've had floods and everything else. So we have to do as much as we can to help to keep the farms in business. One thing that I would like to see, and I've always been an opponent of the land trust as it is, selling your development rights forever is a long time. I've always said, you know, if you're going to sell them for 20, 25 years. Then, you know, either it reverts back to the farmer or, you know, they can just buy it again. But, you know, a lot of these farmers would like to sell a lot or building lot or two or so just to, you know, help them out. They can't do it if it's in a land trust. I mean, and to me that's a hindrance on the farms.